Hello and a very warm welcome to the Late Breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking, today reviewing the Chinese Grand Prix won by Max Verstappen, his teammate Sergio Perez in third, and the McLaren of Lando Norris splitting those two drivers in second place. All right.
Yeah, you're right, mate.
Yeah, not bad.
I mean, it's nice to have actually quite enjoyed the 8 o'clock start. Got the rest of the day ahead of us. Enjoyable. Harry, good to see you, mate. You're back.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Yep, I'm back again. I actually think I'm going to be here for a while now. No, don't put any money on that.
This is on air.
Yeah.
This is on air.
You're promising the people at this point.
I mean, folks, at one point I wasn't even going to be here today.
Okay.
I've made it.
Right. So. Kirsty, clip that. When he doesn't turn up next week, clip
he's
that.
Fired. He's fired if he's not here next week.
Oh, dear.
Okay, so Chinese Grand Prix, as mentioned, Verstappen, Norris, Perez, top three. Verstappen, pretty comfortable win. I think it was about 14 seconds in the end. Given there was a safety car period, well, a virtual safety car, a safety car, and then another safety car bang on in the middle of this race, Sam, and the fact that he still won this by 14 seconds, might this be Verstappen's most dominant victory of the season so far?
Yeah, I think you'd be quite naive not to see that the breakage going on in the middle of the Grand Prix kind of put a shroud over just how dominant Max Verstappen was. I think the sprint race alluded to that with just how far away he was in the same amount of laps. It's basically a second a lap faster at this point. And when the safety car, the first full safety car came out, I think Verstappen at that point had somewhat of a 20-second advantage back to P2. And that was the midway point through the Grand Prix. So I do think that come the end of this Grand Prix, if we had a completely green flag running, no incidents, no stoppages. Stop it. Hey, still going up early, folks. Okay,
Many
talking
stoppage.
is hard. Many stoppage, much break. Good.
That should
I
be
think
like our slogan.
yes,
Late
we
break,
are.
any stop it, much break.
It's if Yoda did our marketing for us.
does.
My point here is that it would have been, I reckon, over 40 seconds. I think that's how dominant he was. Perez, nowhere near the same level playing field as Max Verstappen here at the Chinese Grand Prix. Yes, brings home third again, just like he did in that sprint race, but. And we'll get onto this. I do think that much more should have been on the cards for Sergio Perez. And this is the first time I've actively thought he's let himself down a little bit this weekend. You start on the front row, and to end up that far back from your teammate with the car in between you, wow, Max Verstappen once again showing us. And Nico Rosberg said it in the commentary, and maybe we'll get onto that as a little juicy topic at another point. But, you know, Nico Rosberg said that Max Verstappen was in his top 5 of all time at this point. That performance definitely showed why he's a contender for your lists, if you've all got your own individual one. But yeah, mind-blowingly dominant today. I reckon it could have been 40 to 50 seconds.
Harry, most dominant win of the season?
Yeah. It's when it was early on when they said it in commentary. Nico Rosberg said this on the Sky commentary when Perez got back into second, past Alonso at that point, but was lapping 0.6 a lap slower than Verstappen.
0.6
in the same car.
6. That's insane.
Yeah, that was ridiculous out there today. Like I say, that advantage could have been mighty had we not had those 3 safety car periods. Goodness me. You remember the other day when Ferrari or Carlos Sainz was like, got some upgrades coming and they're going to challenge the Red Bull. Oh, please. Please. I hope they work.
I'm excited for Ferrari to be 0.7 a lap slower rather than 0.9.
Wiped it away. Wiped the slate clean, that is.
Yeah, it's absolutely mad how quick. And it's not just that you can't just say that's the car, because as I just mentioned, Perez was so much slower than him today. That was just Verstappen in a league of his own. The start when I know Alonso was being Jarno Trulli, but the start when Max was like 1.6 seconds ahead at the end of lap 1 gave me Sebastian Vettel vibes. 2011. It was pretty frightening.
I like to think that sometimes when Max Verstappen starts and he gets a lead like that, he becomes Forrest Gump in his mind. And he's like, I am running. And he's just going non-stop. You know, he's like, I will never slow down. Even though he's reached the touchdown at the end of the pitch. He's just through the tunnel. I will not stop. You know, he's still going. He's like, I'll go again. I'll just keep going because I'm better than you.
Yeah. Boy's quite good at F1, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the car.
Weirdly, I was also going to bring up Sebastian Vettel and the way that Sebastian Vettel used to essentially bridge a 1 second gap in about 2 laps or so. Here, it was the safety car restart when he was over a second clear after like 2 corners. It's like, okay, yeah, this one's over. And like you say, Sam, I wouldn't have been surprised at all if this was a non-safety card race. I think this would have been something close to 35 seconds, 40 seconds maybe. You know what Red Bull should have done, and maybe they did do this, and this is why he was so dominant. They should say, okay, you get a £1 million bonus for every second you are clear of the rest of the field, and see how far in the lead he would end up being, because we don't even know if this was Max Verstappen like at full pelt of what he could have achieved. I mean, if you gave him that, or you said like you get 1 point for every 1 second you are clear of everyone else, I feel like he could probably win by a minute. But yeah, it was utterly dominant. I wanted to make sure it was mentioned because we're running out of things to say about Max Verstappen and how good he is, but we also just don't want to move on as if it didn't happen.
They smashed the strategy as well, though. They took full advantage of that safety car, and we've seen it with Mercedes rest on their laurels when they were in front. Red Bull, straight in, box, new set of tyres, they were on it, and it was good to see. That was how you solidify a dominant win.
Sam, you've already brought up Sergio Perez. Naturally, he worked his way back up to the top, but whereas Norris and Leclerc took advantage of the safety car period, Perez, even though he did pit, it wasn't necessarily taking advantage in the same way that those two drivers did. Despite that, do you still have disappointment towards what he was able to achieve today?
Yeah, I do. When you start on the front row and you've got the ability, I know that obviously Alonso had that stormer of a start, and fair play, we'll talk about that later, but Alonso is just loves overtaking people around China. He's like, another set of tyres, I'll just do it again. Sergio Perez should have been in second place today. We kind of gave him, I think, a little bit of a pass in the sprint race for finishing third because he didn't start on the front row. He had to make some overtakes. We saw that it was difficult to make some passes, but with a full race session going on, the Red Bull is so much better. Well, so much better in the hands of Max Verstappen. But I do think that the gulf that we saw between Verstappen and Perez is actually more damning to Perez than it should be. I don't think the gap in their abilities is that big. I do not think that Max Verstappen is essentially a second lap faster than Perez. I think half a second, sure, but the speed in which Verstappen is able to dispatch of anyone at any point in a Grand Prix, and Perez, I complimented him highly on his ruthlessness and his ability to kind of get an overtake done and dusted. And here today in the Grand Prix, that didn't happen. He got the move down on Leclerc, but that took a little bit of a while. And the gap just never came down to Norris. It was a little bit of a theme throughout the Grand Prix, but I did think, that Red Bull's got such legs on it. It should be able to make the strides towards the car in front. I think he let himself down a little bit. I think second place should have been on the cards. I think he'll be disappointed with it.
Do you agree with that, Harry?
Yeah, it wasn't Sergio's greatest day today, was it? Because given that car, what that car can do in the hands of Max Verstappen, he should be P2. There's just no, and we said this before many times when Max is winning. Perez, if the car's that good, Perez should be P2. And I know Max was the making the difference here, but still, it was strange how Perez struggled to get past Leclerc, to be honest, after that safety car. I just expected him to whiz past and then rock up to the back of Norris and then get past him as well. So, yeah, it wasn't ideal. He's still on the podium, so I don't think it's the end of the world for Sergio. But start on the front, he's turned a P2 into a P3, which, on the face of it, isn't ideal, given what that Red Bull is. So, yeah, I don't think it's like massively concerning, but it's also not great. You can't keep doing that if that car advantage is going to last for the year.
Yeah, I think with the irony is that even if this wasn't his greatest race, which it definitely wasn't, again, it comes down to maybe the lack of challengers to his seat. I know Carlos Sainz is heavily in that picture as well, but he didn't have the best of days today. Yeah, I think Australia was a tough one to judge. I'm trying to decide whether this was a worse race for Perez than Australia was. Clearly, finishing position-wise, Australia was worse. He was 5th place, and we'll never really know what Verstappen's true pace would have been at that circuit, but I don't think it would have been anywhere close to what we saw today. In which case, I do tend to lean towards this being his worst race of the season because he was never close. Admittedly, yes, I think second place was on the cards without that safety car coming out as a result of Valtteri Bottas's engine going nope. But I still think that he should have made his way back to P2, and that's something we often say about that type of strategy from the likes of Norris and Leclerc, is that you do sometimes not even get lucky. It's just part of the strategy is that you stay out longer, you give yourself the opportunity for when a safety car or a VSC makes an appearance, and it just so happened today that it did, and on another day it won't. But it tends to, luck wise, I guess you could say, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It all comes back around. I was a little bit disappointed. He's still on the podium, which is that he'll still take that forward, but certainly he hasn't improved his stock as a result of today's race, I don't think.
That's the one thing I wanted to mention, that previously in seasons gone by, when Sergio Perez has had a bad Grand Prix, that's usually resulting in him being 7th, 8th, 9th, while Verstappen has still gone on to win the Grand Prix. If a bad race for Sergio Perez while Verstappen wins is now 3rd, that is okay. I still think this is disappointing. He still should have picked up 2nd. But if 3rd is the worst it's going to get, I still think Red Bull look at that and go, yeah, okay, that's not the end of the world for us. We're still bringing it home. Pretty great points overall.
And I guess there's also a case to say that he was fairly close to Lando Norris at one point, couldn't get by. Is there a great deal of value in Perez and the team pushing that hard to get by Lando Norris at that point? Obviously, Red Bull are in a great position Constructors' Championship-wise. They're going to claim 40 points as a result of a win and a 3rd place. Is there a great deal of point in massively risking it for 2nd place, Harry?
I guess no, but would it have been that? I guess Norris would have fought it pretty hard not to lose P2. I don't know. It doesn't feel like an attitude that they would have. But I understand your logic there, because they're in such a great place. What's the point risking a move that might not come off when out of that battle? Norris is going to be the one that will fight that harder than Perez will, because he wants the P2 badly. So yeah, I understand that, but again, I'm not sure. I just don't think he was quick enough, really, was he? I don't think that was really the issue here. I think if he had been quick enough, they wouldn't have said don't worry about it.
I think with Lando Norris, just to move on to him very quickly as well, his a graphic showed up towards the end of this race that said that it was his best finishing position since the 2023 Brazilian Grand Prix, of course finishing in 2nd. And he said over team radio afterwards that he thought he would be battling and eventually losing out to the Ferraris, which of course wasn't the case. It's a very good day for Lando Norris, Sam.
Yeah, I think we've seen throughout the full season, haven't we, that Ferrari have been the 2nd fastest car. They have, made it quite clear that they are the closest challengers to Red Bull. They got that victory, of course, in Australia when Verstappen had that failure. Sainz has been flying. He's picked up a podium in every single Grand Prix up until now. But I was quite surprised to see how much slower Leclerc and Sainz were in comparison to Norris. Obviously, Piastri, the pace wasn't good in the sprint race, and then he was behind that pair again in the full Grand Prix, but then picked up the damage after the full Stroll, Ricciardo kerfuffle that went on in that safety car. So he was never really able to challenge once again. And when you've got the Mercedes who are just floundering, I guess there's no challenges there. But I did think that, especially with Ferrari getting a better race start than the McLarens, that they were going to be more of a challenge throughout the Grand Prix. And they were so confused on whether they were running Strat D, Plan Don't Do It. It just didn't really pay off for them. They never really got anywhere. So I think Norris was excellent. Equally, I think Lando Norris was the only car outside of the Red Bulls that ran a completely well-executed, strong race from start to finish. I think every single other challenger either didn't have the car or they didn't have the strategy.
I guess, Harry, in many respects, it shows what Lando Norris probably missed out on in the sprint race.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. This was what Norris should have done yesterday. But it was like not to take that away from it. It was, as I say, Sam, I think it was we'll get on to driver of the day and stuff, but it was an excellent race from Norris. If you just ignore Verstappen, he's the next best today. So, it's interesting. That McLaren pace, at least in the hands of Norris, did surprise me, because I thought it would be he was clear, wasn't he? He was the clear next best. So yeah, but I think it was, again, like Verstappen, I think it was Norris that was making a difference.
Should we review some bold predictions?
Oh, I'm actually fuming about this, so sure, we can. But I'm well grumpy at a certain Canadian.
What are you grumpy about?
Well, of course, my bold prediction was that Ricciardo was going to score points. And up until Lance Stroll deciding, you know what, don't like you, Daniel Ricciardo, I'm just going to drive into the back of you. I reckon he might have been on for 10th place.
No
I
chance.
I did the
His
fight
tyres
was
were
there.
his tyres were. He'd have lost those positions anyway. I think.
He stopped under the second safety car. It's
Didn't he
fine.
have to stop again anyway?
Yeah. But I think with the way that Alonso saw the tyre deficit come through, I think we saw that. I think there's a chance. And I didn't get to see it play out. So, Stroll, you're in another category of idiot with that incident.
So that doubles up because we now know who Sam's worst driver of the day is.
Equally, yeah. Sorry, no points for me.
Yeah, my weekend was over pretty quickly because if you remember the sprint race, Lewis Hamilton led, Lando Norris had pole, Fernando Alonso was in second for a good amount of time, Verstappen won it, but nowhere featured was Charles Leclerc, who I said was going to win it.
Yeah. Not even close to the main race either. Unlike a certain other person's prediction where if you just change the words, it might have been right.
If I'd just stopped speaking in that preview episode and just said Lewis Hamilton podium and then didn't say in the main race, I'd have been claiming this, but obviously I'm an idiot.
You would have had an argument for it for sure.
What if I said Lewis Hamilton podium? That counts.
I think you've had a proper argument to stand up and say, "Hey, I didn't specify," but you mugged yourself.
Your man managed to make up 10 positions in the race, and he was still 5 positions off being right for you.
Hello, is that the Met Police? Harry's mugged himself.
Yeah, here's Lewis for going out in Q1.
So
you know that hairpin. Break for it next time.
He doesn't like that hairpin much, does he? Didn't serve him well. If everyone gets their abacus out, please, you'll see that the current scores are Sam has 1 and myself and Harry have none. But of course, we have to take into consideration today's results. So Sam is now on 1 and myself and Harry have moved up to none. Right, that'll do it for our first segment. On the other side, we've got more chat about the Ferrari duo.
I'm like Max Verstappen in his bold predictions. Dominant.
Sure. Infinity percent ahead of us.
I'm never being caught.
Oh. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Ferrari finished 4th and 5th, so they made progress on their qualifying position, but of course, no podium for them, which is a disappointment versus previous races. Harry, what did you make of their race?
Quite frankly, I'm furious at them because I made some big changes to my.
Oh no!
Oh, he's done something.
Oh no!
I've used up a chip so I can make all these changes. I thought, fine, I'm not being rinsed anymore. So I've got Carlos Sainz. He's my 2 times chip, and then I've also got Ferrari in there. So cheers for nothing, you bunch of Italian muppets. Anyway,
I've just got Italian Kermit in my head.
Excellent. Italian accent.
Miss Piggy is Italian. It's hilarious.
It's a me, Miss Piggy.
Oh no, Kermit.
What were we talking about? Ferrari.
Yeah,
they were quite slow today, weren't they? They just weren't. They just didn't. I know they kept saying about Plan D. The amount of times I heard Plan D. Is everyone else on Plan D? Well, no. I guess no, you're not technically. But now we know what Plan D is, you morons.
Why are you saying one stop?
Yeah. Stop using code if you're just going to give away the code. But yeah, even with these various plans that they were on, I don't think it really mattered. They just didn't have the pace, and it was kind of surprising. It's probably the least convincing Ferrari have looked all year during a race, I think. Yeah, it wasn't their greatest show, but I don't think either of them. It was down to either driver. I just don't think the car was there with them today. So for the love of God, Ferrari, bring those upgrades, and they better be good. Because yeah, hopefully today was a one-off, and they get back, resume normal service next race.
Was this their worst race of the season so far, Sam?
Yeah, I think it probably was. The fact that they've managed to pick up a podium pretty much every single other time, even with Ollie Behrman driving, of course, in Saudi Arabia when Sainz had to step away with the appendix issue that he picked up. It is, a disappointing turn of form. I would have thought out of all the Grand Prix that we've seen so far, that actually this track would suit Ferrari's characteristics. Quite cool in condition. It's quite strong in the straight line abilities, which Ferrari are at the moment. I was surprised to see them struggling. I think fourth and fifth is actually okay with the events that went on around them. Fernando Alonso arguably should have been in front of them. Oscar Piastri had the car to arguably be in front of them. George Russell wasn't too far behind. So I think walking away with the fourth and fifth, the only person they were properly beaten by, which I think they shouldn't have been, was Lando Norris, who was, on it like a car bonnet today. He was sensational. So yeah, this was not great, but equally, it's not disastrous. I do think that they can live and learn. They'll come away from this unscathed a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of how I concluded, is that it was a good result given how slow they were. In that, yes, whilst Lando Norris might have beaten them, that could have also meant Oscar Piastri beat them. If Lewis Hamilton didn't start 18th, could he or the other Mercedes have beaten them? Fernando Alonso, if the strategy was different, maybe he could have. So actually, to come away with 22 points from the weekend, not too bad, and they'll just be hoping that pace-wise this was something of a one-off, because I think in terms of pure pace, yes, this was definitely their worst weekend so far. And given Leclerc and Norris's strategy was essentially exactly the same. I appreciate Lando Norris had to come into the pits one lap later because he missed the VSC window, or at least the first VSC window. But even with that, it didn't really cost Norris any time. So, you essentially had almost identical conditions for two cars. One of them is able to stay ahead of Perez quite comfortably. The other is overtaking very, very quickly and doesn't really factor in much. I know Leclerc was quite a long way clear of Carlos Sainz, but there just wasn't much going on for both of them towards the end of this race. I thought actually in particular they were slow on the hard tyres. I thought they weren't too bad in the opening stint, but there was the hard tyres they just didn't work with at all.
I think for me, the most worrying thing for Ferrari is what this weekend is throwing up for them as a team. There seems to have developed a little bit of an attitude between the two drivers where civil war feels like it's starting to brew. You heard Carlos Sainz, after what happened in the sprint session, come out and say what they're going to do, fire me. And you just think, oh, that's spicy from the chili man.
Ollie Behrman is announced as racing for Ferrari.
Well, maybe for the rest of the season. And then, of course, we go down into the hairpin after that heavy braking session. And again, no love lost after Sainz used Leclerc to brake. It kind of went the other way. Leclerc very much happy to kind of run Carlos Sainz out a little bit wide and give no room. Those two who have always got along quite nicely, seemingly pulling at the tethers a little bit and maybe not the bestest of pals anymore. So if that's going to last all season, that could be a little bit worrying for team cohesion.
I guess, the question was more directed at the pace, but actually, do you think, Harry, like Sam, that maybe the most worrying from this weekend wasn't necessarily on track for Ferrari?
It's a bit spicy. I'm sorry, I was laughing because team cohesion sounds like a great name for a new F1 team.
Every single episode that Harry is on, we get either a band name or an album name.
I know that could be a name for a band, to be fair. Anyway, it was pretty spicy from them yesterday. Obviously, today they weren't really near each other, so it didn't happen again. But I kind of enjoy Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz's "I don't give a monkey's" attitude, which is fair enough because why should he? He's just driving for himself, and I get it because what he's basically he's just advertising himself for this year now to get a seat somewhere else. So I'm enjoying that. But yeah, it's interesting that it's just starting to. I think they'll be okay, but just starting to tear at the seams a little bit, their relationship. I don't think it's going to be a Rosberg Hamilton scenario, but it was never an issue before because I think while Sainz always did a great job, I think Leclerc probably has had a bit of an edge in general over their partnership, but Sainz has been giving Leclerc a headache this year, so I'm here for it.
I love it. I'm
More
all
of it.
for a little inter-team scrap.
Yeah. Also, I love when those two, every time they battle, I have to watch through my fingers because it's just terrifying to watch. I think in Monza last year as well, terrifying.
Maybe we should start selling merch that are like Ferrari branded fingers that you kind of hold over your eyes like this, just so you can peek through every time a battle goes on. Ferrari fingers, we'll call them.
I don't think we should.
I do find it funny how we've got like we've got this intra Ferrari battle, and they aren't seemingly best of friends. And you've got Ocon and Gasly who aren't the best of friends, and then you've got Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo who've already had to come in together this year. Russell and Hamilton have never really been best friends. And then you look up and down the grid, and it's like, which teammates work well together? Oh, I know, Hulkenberg and Magnussen. They're the cohesive pair.
Just two old boys having a good time out there.
Weird, really weird. What was my initial question? Oh yes, about Ferrari. Yeah, I'm not. I think they'll get this back, but it's difficult for Carlos Sainz not to feel animosity towards the situation and by proxy Leclerc, because Sainz has been overlooked in favour of Leclerc. They had, they were both available. They could only take one. They've gone against Carlos Sainz, and Sainz has, on a few occasions, not today, but a few occasions this year, been better than Charles Leclerc. So it's kind of tricky to... And Leclerc at the beginning of this week was like, yeah, Sainz has done a better job than I have. So it's difficult for Carlos Sainz to be anything other than, yeah, I am. Why am I getting kicked out? I don't think... Maybe it comes back once every couple of races, but I don't think this will be an ongoing, as you put it, Sam, a Rosberg and Hamilton situation. Mainly because Ferrari aren't good enough to win titles.
Ooh.
Oh dear.
Very harsh.
Very, very harsh.
Fernando Alonso, he had a bit of a different strategy, didn't he, Harry?
Oh, goodness me.
David Croft loved it.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah, we can.
Right, let's do Nico Croft. Come on.
Crofty would not let it go that this was, and he kept trying to defend that this was a good strategy. And Nico Rosberg, quite rightly, because it was a terrible strategy, was like, no, it was terrible. It's like, yeah, but he's making the best
of a terrible situation. Man was in fifth.
Yeah, and top five on the cards here, but would not let it go. Those two in the commentary box. I love Martin Brundle, obviously, but I just love that Nico Rosberg is just not prepared to go on. Whereas Martin Brundle has been worn down. It's just
exactly that.
Nico Rosberg is like, no, you're being an idiot. Stop it.
It's like the two of them. Weird analogy. I've gone clay pigeon shooting, right? And Crofty's throwing his ideas up into the sky, all hopeful. Bang! No, not allowed that one. Bang! That's crap. Get that down. Every single time. I loved it. What about points for the top 20? No! Top 10 only. It should be hard.
He's getting him back for not being able to talk about the sprint race.
He is.
Oh my God. I didn't watch it, but I heard about him stop mentioning the sprint race, and it was literally a result on Max Verstappen won sprint race.
Yeah, honestly, those two always. I loved the sass. I'm not sure he's a great co-commentator on Geeko, but I loved the sass that he brought this weekend.
It's excellent. I've got an image now of those two going clay pigeon shooting together. got their outfits on. Oh, goodness me. Anyway, what was your... Oh, Fernando Alonso.
Strategy, yes.
Yeah, that was interesting. I know he had the fresh softs to use, but maybe you don't have to use them, guys. Like, I know they're there, but you don't just put them on for no reason. I could see what they were going for, and yes, to Crofty's slightly ridiculous point, he was hampered by the fact that then we had a second safety car. But even so, to Nico Rosberg's point, that strategy was never going to work. He was never going to see out the race on softs, and he was never going to. It was never because the field were now all bunched up. He was never going to be able to make up the gap. So, if it had been a VSC situation where he'd made that stop, I would understand it slightly more. But he did it under the safety car. So, they've given away a good result there, slightly. So, not the best afternoon on the pit wall. Bernie Collins must be watching that and going, "Oh, do you want me back, guys?
Please,
sure you want me back?" Yeah. It just wasn't a great strategy whatsoever, and it gave away some good points because Their race pace, Aston Martin, isn't fantastic, but Fernando Alonso is just being Fernando Alonso and putting that car in positions it shouldn't be. I mean, I say positions in terms of places on the track, but also positions of being on the road. I mean, that save out the last corner might be moment of the
Oh
season.
my word!
Goodness me,
Man is like limitless. His reflexes are in the future. How did he save that?
he's in his early 40s.
No, he's not. He's in his early 4s, is what we're saying. He's essentially still a child in that car.
Yeah, so it's a shame because I think Alonso actually is driving as well as he ever has, but the car just can't. The car can't keep up with him. He's too fast for the car.
You want what from me, Fernando?
No, I can't do that.
More?
I thought Alonso was brilliant this weekend. I think that the car was bad. I really don't think that car worked at all this weekend. So the fact that he's managed to finish, 7th place with the fastest lap, the fact that strategy has only essentially cost him 3 points, I believe, is pretty good going. It was a terrible idea. I don't know why they did it, because it was always going to be the case where unless they got very lucky and got another safety car or another VSC, they were always going to have to take a green flag stop, which is always going to cost you. Everyone else went on the same strategy for a reason, apart from you, Fernando Alonso. So, yeah, I mean, it made him slightly more competitive for about 3 or 4 laps, but, I mean, what good's that when there's so many laps still to go? It's not as if there was 5 laps left or even 10 laps left. There was half the race to go. So, yeah, I thought it was an awful decision. Sam?
We saw continuously this trend. At the moment the tyres started to decay, inroads made to cars in front were minimal, if not at all. Perez was a prime example trying to catch Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton trying to catch Oscar Piastri. We saw so many occasions where cars who were on very similar strategies, or even tyres were a bit newer for the attacking cars, started to fall off. They couldn't get anywhere near them. So yes, Alonso picked up that early kind of second wind where he was able to cut through the slower traffic of poor Ocon back there, Hulkenberg, whatever, and then he caught up to Hamilton and Piastri. Great. That's kind of the bare minimum of what you'd expect to get back from him. But I don't think that Russell, especially, would have ever got past Alonso. I think 10 points, 5th place was pretty much always guaranteed to be on the cards. At most, he could finish 6th, which would have been a position in front of where he finished anyway. So this feels like a bit of a poor call. Yeah, he got the fastest lap point, and we got to have some fun watching Fernando Alonso cut back through the field, and that race needed it. But poor choice from Aston Martin.
Okay, everyone, it's time for Driver of the Day.
The verdict is in. You're the driver of the day. You're the driver of the day. You're good at driving.
That was almost a really funny situation because I also set up to play the Driver of the Day jingle, which I just about avoided it playing twice.
Too many DJs in the radio booth.
It's all you, man. It's all you. Driver of the Day, who have you got, Harry?
I'll go for Lando Norris. There are a few in there. Max Verstappen, obvious. Alonso, we've already mentioned as well. But yeah, I just think Norris was excellent. Just very excellent. To finish P2, to beat a Red Bull, that's a great result. So yeah, Lando Norris for me.
Sam?
I said mine at the start of the recording because I'm just like Max Verstappen, that I'm so dominant. I do things faster than everyone else now. But I did say Max Verstappen for those that didn't quite catch it. The man was sublime. Even when he did fall back into the traffic or had to execute a strategy under the safety car, it was effortless. It was easy. So, yep, big Verstappen, driver of the day.
I'm going to give Lando Norris best non-driver of the day this season because I thought he was exceptional. But Verstappen would have won that race by about 35 seconds, I think, if they weren't for the safety cars. So it's difficult not to give it to him. So I'll give it to Verstappen, but Norris was very, very good as well. A few contenders for the next one. Worst driver of the day.
I've not got a clue if Ben asked me a question there, but I'll go with it and say yes. Yes, he did. Worst driver of the day. Oh no, don't I have to play the jingle? Oh,
play the jingle, Harry. Use more time to resolve our technical difficulties.
Ben, play the music. No.
Get in the bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin. You suck at driving.
Who have you got, Harry?
This is good. Worst driver of the day. I'll go for Lance Stroll.
The realization on your face of like, there is nobody else.
I was trying to think, did anyone else have a worse race? No. It was, don't drive into people under the safety car, my guy. That's not ideal.
Look forward in the car. Why is he looking over here? What's going on over there? Hot dog stand. Forwards. Drive the car.
It was so clumsy. And I know they were like backing up and stuff in front of him, but everyone else had managed not to hit each other. The other one I was almost going to go for was Kevin Magnussen because he hates Yuki Tsunoda, apparently.
Box office is back. Friday night tickets are on sale.
Honestly, that was because it wasn't even the move. It wasn't like he dive bombed and hit him. They were through the corner and it was just like, no, Yuki, out you go.
Just
You know
banter.
what? It's like intrusive thoughts. What if I just drove into him?
Bang, off you go. See you later.
Oh, got him.
Got him. Anyway, but no, I'll go for Lance. Ben, are you back with us?
Yes. I think I am anyway. I am here.
Yeah.
Audio, you are good.
Well, that is good news. My laptop is cooking, and not in a good way. Sam, worst driver of the day.
I'm going to join Harry Reid on the Lance Stroll disgusting train because I also, again, another brilliant radio message from Lance Stroll coming over there. What is this idiot doing? He's just brake checked me. And then obviously gets talking about the penalty. This is a joke. The guy is just constantly angry in his own little world that he's got going on over there. But mate, just don't drive into someone. It's as simple as that. It was so poor. It's such a lapse in concentration. K-Mad does deserve a shout out for, I don't know, terrorism because he has just attacked him. Poor Yuki's just trying to drive in a straight line, and K-Mac's just gone, nah, you're gone, mate. See you later, sunshine. It was terrible.
10 out of 10 for execution from K-Mac. It was clinical.
If that was his attempt, yes, get a puncture and end the race of someone else. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I just think he's gone, I haven't had any carnage in my life for a moment. I'm a dad. I need to be sensible all the time.
Bored.
Hate. Calmness. Must hit someone else. Anyway, neither of them will get a score point, so it was a bit of drama for us. But
the irony being, though, they gave us probably the best battle of the race, those two.
I know. Both very angry in their cars at that time. But yeah, no, Stroll is the worst driver of the day. He can get in the bin.
I am, you know what? I'm going to go with Kevin Magnussen. I think Lance Stroll and Kevin Magnussen are the top two. I think Logan Sargent also deserves a shout out because he was really slow today. Even by, it sounds horrible, even by Logan Sargent standards, I thought he was bad today. But he didn't kill anyone, so he's done better than the other two. The only reason I've gone for Kevin Magnussen is I think the Lance Stroll incident, whilst I do lay the blame on him, I can forgive it more than I can the Kevin Magnussen one, because I think at least one driver was going to go into another driver in what happened in that mess. It happened to be Lance Stroll. I do think it was his error, but I can understand why he made the error. Kevin Magnussen murdered someone, and that is grounds for worst driver of the day.
Murder. That's fair.
Big brain strat.
Oh, good. There we go.
Bob, we're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
What have you got, Sam?
Mine is going to come after the Grand Prix, which I know defeats the purpose entirely. But watching Lando Norris realise he's gone the wrong way to get to the park up spot where he's meant to go into the third place, and then he's going, I need to put my car in reverse. There's cars behind me. I'm stuck in neutral. I'm rolling backwards down the pit lane. Screw it. I'm just going to have to go forward and park somewhere else. It's almost like we've all been in that situation in a car park where you've missed the space and you go, oh, I can get it. No, there's 8 cars behind that. I'll just go forward. I'll find somewhere else. And I've been there and I can relate to this millionaire superstar, but that was just so good to watch. It's brilliant drive. And he'd go, man, yeah, I'm in the wrong space. Also, Zhou Guanyu getting his own parking spot on the grid. Peugeot is hilarious.
That is fair. That is completely fair. Harry?
Obviously, the Alonso strategy probably deserves a shout out here, but I'm going for Pierre Gasly, because that Alpine actually wasn't as bad this weekend, I don't think, but they're so desperate to gain positions that Hamilton was coming out the pit lane under the VSC and Gasly was just racing him
I
around,
will get in front of him.
around turn 1 and 2. I was like, you're not supposed to do that, guys. And Gasly's like, no, I will gain this place.
I will fool everyone.
You're not going to see anything. I'm getting this place. So I thought it was an admirable attempt from Pierre.
I'm not sure if this is a compliment for Alpine or a diss on Mercedes. I don't think that Alpine was that much slower than the Mercedes. I mean, when Hamilton was behind Ocon, he couldn't get close to him. And then obviously he ended up ahead due to the safety car periods, but there wasn't that much of a difference between them, which was baffling. I'm going to go with Sauber working out how they can avoid having pit stops, making their engines go kaput after half the race. That was a really good strategy.
Oh, Valtteri.
Also, I don't know if this quite goes into strategy territory, but the fact that Red Bull pulled off their first it might have been their only 4 stops of this race, between Perez and Verstappen, a combined total of 8 seconds between those 4 pit stops. They had a 1.9, 2 2-second pit stops, and their slowest was 2.1 seconds. That is ridiculous. One of them was a double stack. You can't be good at everything.
The footage just got put up on a certain adult site, actually. It was that dirty.
Oh, come on.
But Sauber actually did do a pit stop, and it was on time today.
What, 5.3 seconds?
Hey, they did a 3-second one.
Oh, well done. Well done. 3 seconds. Only 1 second behind Red Bull.
Can we talk about as well when the early pit? We didn't see any of it. Ted Kravitz was in the pit lane, like falling over, collapsing because it was so exciting. But like 5 cars came to the pits at the same time. They all tried to run into each other.
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
They love a bit of pit stop drama these days.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's take our second break of this episode. On the other side, we've got moment of the race.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay, everyone, welcome back. We have an earlier moment of the race than what we would usually have to make sure that Mr. Harry Eid can be here for it. As I appreciate you have to get off in a couple of minutes' time, but as usual, we'll give our own ones first before we say anything from Discord. What was your moment of the race, Harry?
My moment of the race. Oh, sorry, I just lost my notes. I'm going to name a couple here. Have we pointed out? Oh, yeah, this isn't really a moment of the race. Have we pointed out the anting corner is no longer anting?
Oh, I'm
What was
mourning,
it called
okay?
now? It was
I'm in mourning.
close, wasn't it?
Gearding.
Yeah.
Which I also love that it's a very similar sounding word with 2 silly syllables, and it's now the Gearding corner. But Rip Anting, who was a part of my life for as long as I can remember.
That's long for my entire life.
Well, it may as well be. I was like 4 when I first saw it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, anyway, and that was just a shout out. The Magnussen Stroll battle was excellent. I know it didn't last very long, but I thought it was a great part of the race. But I'm just going to go to the shot of the 17 marshals trying to move Valtteri Bottas
Oh
to Sauber.
my god!
Heave!
Rolling it backwards and forwards.
Put your back into it.
It was like kind of like an office style cut. We were just watching the action, and we'll get on to why there was no safety car. Just the cut to there's like 1 million people around this car, and it will not go anywhere. It's the most stubborn F1 car ever known to man. It made me laugh a lot.
Oh dear. One that you mentioned, my moment of the race was the Kevin Magnussen and Lance Stroll battle, because there is nothing more entertaining. I'm convinced of this. There's nothing more entertaining in F1 than Kevin Magnussen outside the top 10 with a 10-second time penalty. Like, it's just the GOAT.
Doesn't care.
He gets to a point where he's like, it doesn't matter, does it? I'm just going to needlessly battle this P17 far harder than I need to. And fair play to him for it. It created half a lap of great drama. He just would not give that up.
See him walk out the track dusting his hands. All in a good day's work.
Pretty much. I also love when Stroll finally got past that turn 1, Kevin Magnussen's like, I'm going to go around the outside. Nah, can't do that. No. I tried.
I'll give it a good go. For
you, Sam, moment of the race?
Yeah, far less serious than yours. There was one moment where, Lando Norris is doing brilliantly, and sometimes they have family members that come to the pit lane to watch along. And I believe Lando's dad had turned up, which is fantastic. Adam had turned up, Adam Norris. And there's a cut where it cuts to him and he's just finished off his water bottle. And you can see him walking around the pit garage going, where do I put in the bin? Is there a bin? And a pit engineer is having to go, recycling's over there. And you think, why are we watching this? Why am I watching a man look for a bin for his water bottle during a Grand Prix? Equally, I loved it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, why not? That's great.
I was all for it. I want more water bottle chat, please.
Water bottle cam.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
But of course, we have some Discord submissions that have come in. Thank you very much to everyone who's put some submissions in. We'll play as many as we can. Take it away, Harry.
Okay. First up, we have Opal.
Hey guys, it is 3:45 in the morning. I have ruined my sleep schedule again to watch the race, but I'm here to give my moment. My moment was when the race commentators said that RB stands for really bad, and also I'm happy to see that Hülkenberg got into the points again because Haas doesn't suck. I mean, they do a bit, but not as much as that we were thinking they would.
Less sucky than anticipated. I like that.
Award. I think that RB saying for really bad is one of the most late-breaking lines of commentary I could ever imagine.
It's like you said it.
I think I probably have.
You've definitely
It sounds fair.
Next up is Real Dad and James.
Hello, boys. Good morning. James and Real Dad here with my moment of the race. So, Dad's a bit annoyed because something might have happened. So I will just pass it on to him.
Lance Stroll, what are you doing? The guy needs glasses and probably needs to leave F1. Oh, I need to make a coffee. Right, that's it. Over and out. Yeah. Hope you're not too tired like yesterday, boys. See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye. I thought you liked tea.
I thought you liked tea.
Absolutely done him there.
Another great submission.
This next one is from Ruth, although the way it's...
Ruth.
I'll try and play this, but I'm not sure it's going to work. Oh, no. That's absolutely not worked. Hang on. It's downloaded it. Oh, folks, sorry. I'm very sorry.
Harry's going the extra
Hello,
mile.
it's Lee all the way from South Africa. My moment of the race is actually the whole race when Rosberg is beating Crofty in commentary and explaining things way better and calling winners a bad strategy. I really like his commentary this week. I mean, Sauber on the pit stop doing a 5.3 and then Max getting a 1.9 pit stop. I mean, come on. Have a good week. Bye.
Good. The roasting of Ruth.
The roasting of Ruth. Next up, we have Flamingo Hot Cheetos.
If that's your name, sensational.
I thought it was Flaming Hot Cheetos. Oh, God, I can't
Oh, not Chico's. It's Chico time.
Time's it.
Chico time.
Flaming hot Chico time.
Goodness me, that's a throwback.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, Flamingo Hot Cheetos.
Hi guys, it's Flamingo Hot Cheetos here. My moment of the race was when Lewis Hamilton was stuck behind Nico Hülkenberg for like 5 entire minutes. It was just crazy to see him not being able to pass a Haas. And it was kind of like Lewis versus Nico 2024. You know, haha. That was funny. Okay, bye guys.
Haha.
Can I just comment on Lewis Hamilton for a minute? That man is a mood vacuum. Honestly, shut up. Seriously, whinging around like a little baby over the radio. Beat George Russell, and then you can moan about the car not being very good. I'm sick of it, mate.
Lap 2. I hate these tires.
Yeah, it was very
These are the
early
wrong
on, wasn't it?
tyres, man.
He's
Oh,
going to beat his
God.
record for how early he hates tires. I'm 2 laps in. I hate him. I hate him.
Race me on marshmallows or something next time.
Bono's like, oh, only a few. How many more races left? And then he can
He's
go.
got a
Get him out
countdown
the
clock,
door,
hasn't he?
right?
Anyway, next up is On the Button.
G'day, chaps. It's On the Button here from little old New Zealand. My moment of the race, apart from Lance Stroll forgetting how to drive and rear-ending everyone like a trolley going back into the trolley bay,
Nice.
was actually I saw the Sauber pull into the pits for a pit stop, so I thought I'd dash to the fridge and get a beer and see if I could beat them. But to my surprise, 3-second pit stop. Well done. Keep breaking late. Cheer.
I love it. It's like an ad break. You're like, hold on, I can pop to the
That's excellent. That's the sort of thing we would do. We used to make content like that back in the day. Anyway, next up is Bristol Liam, or maybe it's Hazard.
Morning, lads. My moment of the race was probably Lance absolutely cannon strolling it into the back of Ricardo that ruined all of Australia's racing for about the only race they have in any year that's a reasonable time for them. Cheers.
Poor Australia.
Poor Australia. Next up is Wrath.
Don't you just love waking up at 2 a.m. for a race? So do I. Moment of the race, definitely when Lance Stroll violated Danny Rick's rear end. And also, I think Nico Rosberg should be in charge of the FIA. What do you think? Good morning, good night, wherever you are. Adios.
Ex-drivers helping out with the rule making? Surely not.
No. Don't be ridiculous. And finally, we've got our friend Norm from Texas.
Hey everyone, it's Norm from Texas, and I'm here to give my moment of the race. And my moment of the race was those few precious laps that we got with Lando Norris in the lead. But no, Lando Norris is my moment of the race. He had a great race. Anyway, keep breaking late.
I love that one man can be the moment of the race. Just his existence.
He's actually a driver of the day stan, is Norm. And he's just trying to find a creative way to give his driver of the day.
Just loves that segment. It's all he listens for.
Yeah, it's true. That was the last one, right, Harry?
That was the last one.
Good-o. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted. We'll be back for more submissions at the next race when we'll be looking for who's under pressure in the preview. A couple of incidents that we've already referred to today. 3 10-second penalties given out by the stewards. So they were quite busy. Sam, did you agree with all of their decisions?
Can you run myself and the listeners through, Ben, what those were for?
So we had the 10-second penalty for Lance Stroll going into the back of Daniel Ricciardo on the safety car restart. We had 10 seconds for Kevin Magnussen murdering Yuki Tsunoda. And then we had 10 seconds for Logan Sargent and a safety car infringement for coming out just behind Nico Hülkenberg, but thinking he was ahead.
Yes, so thank you for the reminder. Now, the first two were physical incidents, obviously crashing into one another. And I do think that, you know, you've taken out another driver. Essentially, you've hit another car. A classic 10-second penalty feels fitting for that. Totally fine with it. I've got no issues at all. The one that I'm a little bit unsure of with the safety car infringement, when I've seen the image of them, they are quite literally nose to nose across the line. You almost see a photo finish, you know, which driver was actually crossing that line in front of the other one. I'm not sure how much time Logan Sargent had been communicated for, because we never heard any radio messages from Williams saying, oh, you know, give the position back, or you shouldn't have come out ahead, or whatever. And that might have happened, but from a viewer's point of view, we're watching this, we're not hearing that information. It's very hard to know how much notice Logan Sargent was given. Now, if Logan Sargent has simply chosen, nah, I was 1 millimeter behind and I've decided to stay ahead, sure, 10 seconds feels totally fine. If he wasn't given the communications, then I do think that this was quite a harsh penalty overall. But at least they're trying to be consistent with, you go ahead of a car under a yellow flag or by leaving the track, you get 10 seconds. At least there is some consistency there. We'll get onto it maybe, but there was a lot of running cars off the road and no penalties or warnings given this Grand Prix. And it does feel like we've just gone back to, I don't know, corner specific. You're allowed to not leave any space and that's fine. And I don't really understand where that ruling's gone.
Do you think the stewards got most things right today, Harry?
Some of it. The Logan Sargent one seems pretty harsh to me, but again, we didn't really see much of it. The Lance Stroll, I think the penalty itself is fair for Lance, but he's been given 2 penalty points, which is less than what Alonso got for his incident with Carlos Sainz, and that seems ridiculous. How does that work? You
have crashed under a safety car.
Yes. how is that worthy? How's that worthy of less of a penalty point on your license? I don't understand. So in that sense, no, that's a terrible call. But in race penalty, yes. And I think the same for K-Mag. I think that was a 10-second penalty was justified on that one for literal terrorism. So I know they're two different incidents, but I think the same penalty applying works in this instance. And that's why the Logan Sargent one, I think, seems quite harsh because, again, I don't know a huge amount about it or heard much more about it, but it was an error that could that not have been resolved like under the safety car? If you think that the safety car was out for so damn long anyway, could they not have just said, Logan, you weren't ahead of the line, you need to give that back? So yeah, that one seems harsh, but the other two, I think, on track penalties fine, penalty points stupid.
Yeah, I agree with the Stroll and Magnussen ones, particularly the Magnussen one. The Stroll one, like I said, I do think he was a little bit unlucky that the car, and I can't remember which two were very close to coming together before Stroll did, but even so, he's the one that went into the back of Ricciardo, therefore he gets the penalty. The Logan Sargent one is so unlucky, I think, on the driver, but is a correct penalty in my opinion. If Hülkenberg was ahead at the line, he was ahead at the line. Therefore, he deserves the position, regardless of whether it was Logan Sargent's decision to stay in front, which I have to be honest, I would be very surprised if that was the case, or if it was miscommunication or Williams didn't look at it close enough to see if he was ahead. Whatever the reason was, the infringement still happened. Therefore, it should be the same penalty regardless. So I did agree with that being a penalty, but I don't think it's on the driver whatsoever. I was surprised with I think it was Stroll and Hülkenberg at the beginning, how that one didn't get a penalty. That one seemed, and I only saw it once, so maybe I need to look at it again, but that one seemed like a penalty to me as well.
There's so many instances of cars being completely run off track and drivers moaning about it, drivers complaining about it, where they clearly think it was penalty worthy through following previous rules. And Fernando Alonso obviously got a penalty for running a driver off the track and penalty points. Yes, I know there was a bit of contact, but the contact happened off the track. And then Carlos Sainz, of course, hits Charles Leclerc in the sprint race beforehand and runs him off the track. Different rulings again. I just don't really understand where the consistency is of what you could do with a driver on the track limits at the moment. And for a new viewer watching this season, it must be really hard to understand.
Yes, indeed. Myself and Sam will be back after the break with a little bit more chat, but this is where Mr. Harry Yee takes his leave of absence. So do you want to say goodbye to the people?
Yeah, cheers and gone, folks. It's been real.
Please upload your video before you go.
I will. Bye.
Okay, welcome back. We are a man down, but we still do have one more segment to go on today's episode. A bit of chat on Mercedes, because George Russell essentially stayed where he was for the most part in this Grand Prix, but Lewis Hamilton had a lot more to make up based on his qualifying effort. Of course, qualifying 18th. We mentioned on yesterday's review it might be difficult for him to get back through the field. Eventually ended up 10 positions higher up than where he started. Good effort, bad effort, what do you think? Sorry, was it 9 or 10?
He finished P9.
9,
so it's
sorry,
9
yes.
positions, yeah.
Forgot about Alonso's overtake, my bad.
Of course, yeah. So I think Hamilton's mentality is in a really bad way at the moment. I think, morally, he knows that he's got a service to this Mercedes team, but emotionally, I think he's checked out. I think he's going, this car isn't good. This is my last season here, and I'm not going to win anything. So I've got to kill time before I can start my next journey. And you could hear it in his voice the whole way through the Grand Prix. Every single issue he was coming out over. Now, I know it's up to the race director, what radios they play and what radios they don't play. And of course, he might have said 50 really nice things over the radio. We might not have heard them. And that's just, but I have to go on what I've heard. And it came across so negative. But besides that, he managed to do what a world champion should do when they're starting that far back in essentially what is now a midfield car. Stay out of trouble, pick your way through the field, be decisive when a strategy decision comes along. And he was when it came under the VSC. They stopped again. And their tyres were only 2 laps old when the full safety car came out. So it kind of worked out for them there. And you've just got to make sure that you pick your way through all the mess. You had the Stroll Ricciardo incident. You had the Alonso's strategy failure, which it looked like he was maybe going to benefit from at the start. And then, of course, he then gets overtaken. You had the issue with Magnussen and Tsunoda. These are all incidents going on around him. And he's managed to steer clear of all the trouble. He's got a few overtakes moved in as well. He ends up beating Hulkenberg, who was quite good today. Bottas, of course, has a failure. That's another position picked up. He actually made up 3 or 4 places on track, but he was able to benefit from so many problems going on that it moved him all the way up to P9. So I think, yeah, it was fine. I think the points gained looks more beneficial than what he actually managed. I think if it was full green running for every single car, I don't think he could finish higher than maybe 11th or 12th today. But hey, you've got to race against what you've got, and he picked up points. But I just found it funny that with George Russell, who finished in 6th, picking up 8 points, and of course, Lewis Hamilton, who finished 2nd in the sprint race and then finished 9th, he actually only walks away with 9 points. So by Russell not even bothering for the sprint race, he's only a point worse off for the entire weekend anyway. Russell was good. Russell benefited from Alonso poor strategy more than anyone else, I think. He probably would have finished 7th otherwise. And I did say at the start of the weekend that I imagine that it'll be Alonso, Piastri, and Russell fighting for that set of points. And there they were. Russell ended up being the victor of the day.
To remind everyone before I give my opinion on Lewis Hamilton, every single driver will be rated by the 3 of us in our Power Rankings episode that will be up on Patreon in the next couple of days. In terms of Lewis Hamilton, I think it was okay and nothing more than that, in all honesty. And I think the VSC helped him out a lot in the same way that it helped out Leclerc and Norris, who ended up ahead of Perez, who pit under the safety car rather than the VSC. I think Lewis Hamilton was helped by pitting under the VSC. As mentioned in the first part of this Grand Prix, after overtaking the cars that realistically he should have overtaken, he didn't make a lot of progress. He was consistently stuck a couple of seconds behind Esteban Ocon. We know how bad that Alpine has been, and he was just there. And nothing he could really do about it. I think he was a little bit better in the second half of this race, in that, he started to make some overtakes happen. Obviously, the Hulkenberg one that you referenced. I think he did the right thing in that he didn't make any unnecessary risk. He didn't fight. He didn't fight Fernando Alonso too hard. He didn't go for broke on the first lap and try and make 5 positions up in one corner. Yeah, he didn't actually make up any positions, I don't think, on the first lap. Yeah. So, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world. You bide your time to make sure that your race doesn't come unstuck on the first lap. And yeah, I feel like there wasn't anything he did out there that I was like, I didn't expect him to do that. Everything he did, I was like, yeah, I figured that should have been done. And some of those positions, like you say, happened not by him making overtakes, which is fine. I mean, you can't have a go at him for not overtaking on track a broken down Valtteri Bottas. But even so, I think that has maybe, like you say, inflated his position by a couple of positions. I'm not sure it'd got back to the points if it unfolded a little bit differently.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Fernando Alonso's poor strategy, Mercedes would have wound up in a famous 7-9. That's...
And
is the car any better? Is it any better?
That's the worst thing. We say 7th and 9th, and it is starting to be like a consistent joke. But that's where they are. Like it's not. It's not like they are strategically letting themselves down. It's not like they are, qualifying very high and then losing positions. They are just 7th and 9th. Like that is where the car is and has been pretty much all year, which is pretty. Depressing from Mercedes' perspective that it's got to that point, but it's the reality.
I actually think, again, it's the quality of driver pairing that is keeping them in 7th and 9th as well, because if you look at Lance Stroll, if he was another Fernando Alonso, I think both Mercedes would be behind both Aston Martins. Piastri, he's not had a good start to this season for race pace, and I think if he was racing better, he would have been higher up than both the Mercedes. So arguably, they're 9th and 10th. On a standard day, if everyone else performs to their absolute maximum, that is literally what Mercedes are now. They are the 5th fastest team.
Final thing to look at today before we go, and it has already been mentioned on today's episode, in Moment of the Race no less, when Valtteri Bottas retired halfway through the Grand Prix. Before I go on, actually, can we please give him some luck? Like, goodness me.
What has he done?
He's done something to someone, because what does he have to do to score a point? Again, I think he put himself in a great position, and it was undone by nothing that he could have done anything about, but that's beside the point. The actual VSC and then safety car period that unfolded as a result of this, how do you feel that was managed?
It's one of the most farcical moments that we've seen so far this season from the stewards. Well done. You've got another one in the books every single year. Why is it taking so long to get the VS out for a start? We've got multiple stewards around that car. And you, in the shot where we're watching the stewards attending to the car, you can see an actual battle taking place behind them. I know they're under yellow flags, but they have to slow down for it, and they do. But what if someone locks up? What if someone's brakes fail right there and then? And you're going to... The car is parked in a straight line off of a braking zone into a very crucial part of a racetrack. And you've just gone, well, I will give it 3 to 5 working days before the VSC comes out. And then when you've got every marshal in China trying to move that car off the racetrack, only after another couple of laps, you go, full course safety car, I suppose so. Will someone offer a tea break? Did they forget where the button was because we've not been in Shanghai for so long to push safety car? It was farcical. It was unsafe, and safety is paramount. And they've let themselves down. Again, have the stewards, because they have not acted quick enough to make sure that everyone around them is safe.
I tend to go with something of a theory, and this is not an insult towards David Croft at all. But David Croft, because he's the lead commentator for like the global feed, I always tend to think like if he's mentioning something bad, even mentioning it, it's probably very bad. I almost say like if David Croft is saying something's questionable, it's bad. If he's saying something's bad, it's very bad. And if he's saying something's very bad, it's awful. It's like he has to reel it in a little bit, if that makes sense, based on his position.
Positive, isn't he?
Yes, exactly. The fact that he mentioned, I think the VSC maybe should have come out earlier, that makes me think it definitely should have come out earlier. It was ridiculous. The fact that Valtteri Bottas is stood outside of the car and all you've got is double wave yellows. I appreciate it's not necessarily like a blind corner. You can see everything ahead of you. So that lessens the risk, but why not throw a VSC in that situation? It was clear that car was not going anywhere, despite the fact that David Croft asked the question. I wonder if he could put that in reverse. No, I think the smoke from the back of the car might indicate that he can't do that. But it clearly wasn't going anywhere. The VSC should have gone out straight away. I agree with you that they should have gone to a full course safety car earlier as well, but I can you know what, that doesn't matter as much, because when you're under VSC, you're under safe driving conditions, right? So even though I think it should have happened earlier, it's more of a it should happen rather than it has to happen for safety reasons. But bringing out the VSC in the first place was the one that really got me. That should have happened so much earlier than what it did.
I thought it would happen straight away. My brain went,
Of
that's a
course.
VSC. Literally, I thought, that's helped out Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc a treat. The moment I saw Bottas literally coming to a stop, I thought, that is a heavy braking zone. People are battling into that corner time and time again, and it runs onto the biggest overtaking area of the racetrack. They are going to be dueling for that space. That's a VSC. That is a risk to safety. Nah, just can't be bothered.
Yeah. I mean, you bring out the double yellow straight away. You can see from the smoke of the car, right, it's pretty likely this is going to be VSC. Let's give it a few seconds. No, very clearly. Right, VSC. Like, it doesn't need to be more of a laboured process than that.
I don't know if they're just nervous about calling things too early and making the wrong choice, but I would rather you call a safety requirement too early and go, look, okay, it was too early, but we were being safe. We'll make sure that everyone was okay. And we apologise, but we'd rather be someone be safe than us be sorry. But that to me would be fine.
That's the whole point of the VSC, though, is that that's why it was introduced.
It neutralises any race moment.
Because if you're bringing out the full course safety car, then you have at least a minimum of a 3-lap, like in-lap, 1-lap, out-lap situation. And if you do pull that out too early, then, you do affect the Grand Prix quite a lot. VSC, you can bring it out and bring it back in again within 30 seconds. Like that's the whole point it's there, is to be a bit more agile about these situations, and they just declined to use it for a good 3 hours. So, yeah, I was flabbergasted is the word I'm going to go with.
Great use of word to round off the podcast.
Indeed it is. We're going to be back midweek. No race next weekend, but we still got an episode on Wednesday. Sam, if you wouldn't mind getting us out of here.
Yeah, loads of news coming out at the moment in the world of Formula One. So we will be discussing all of the latest talking points midweek. If you want more content, loads on our Patreon. Not just the power rankings that we're going to be recording tomorrow. We've done loads of stuff previously. We went and reviewed the 2005 Imola Grand Prix. That was a really, really good race. If you've not seen it, if you're new to F1, that's where Fernando Alonso basically earned his stripes up against multiple-time world champion Michael Schumacher. One of the best defensive performances you'll ever watch. Go and check it out. Give it a little go. Think about subscribing. It massively helps out the podcast. Discord, the link is in the description. And thank you to so many people that are in there talking, getting submissions in. We love that community. We love that support. Follow us on social media, Late Breaking F1. You can go and challenge our red flagged talking point, which apparently the world is in uproar about on Instagram and TikTok. That's hilarious. We love that. Someone call us Americans. You tell us if we are.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Very clearly American. YouTube, this has been video recorded. Come and shout our faces at a screen if you want to as well. That's always fun. But again, we'll be back midweek. If you just want to listen to the normal content, and that is more than okay, we love having you here. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
And I've been Ben Hocking. And remember, keep breaking late.